This week's column is entitled Finding the Stepping Stones. In a column last January, Winnipeg Free Press columnist Gerald Flood showed that former Premier Gary Doer screwed up the consultation process with First Nations communities. In choosing a route for Manitoba's Hydro's Bipole 3, the east side had always been Hydro's first choice. Doer screwed up the communication with the east side 16 First Nations and opted to move the route to the western side of the province. You can check out that story for yourself on the Free Press website. Gerald Flood was one of the people who interviewed me as part of the Free Press editorial board in 2006 when I ran for the PC leadership. He and the Free Press were only a bit sympathetic to my stand on the Bipole 3 route, and so it bites a little bit now that the Free Press has taken one of my main platforms and said, well, this is just the way it should be. Life goes on, we just smile and move on. What Flood didn't mention in this article is that one of Premier Gary Doer's last tasks as Premier was to give $10 million, that's right, $10 million, on October 2009, to a group called Panamachiwan Aki. This is a small group who have built a website, and it appears they haven't done much else to date. The lady in charge, Sophia Rabliauskas, is Aboriginal. She runs Panamachiwan Aki, is married to a Russian, Ray Rabliauskas. He's the land management coordinator at Poplar River Reserve and the administrator of that reserve. You can verify the $10 million grant, also in a Free Press website story. And you can check out Panamachiwan website for yourself, and you will see what they've done with the $10 million. Now there's more money going to this group. The Winnipeg Sun says on November 8, 2010, the Winnipeg Foundation announced today that they have partnered with several First Nations to campaign to have the boreal forest declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And they want to start an endowment fund with the Winnipeg Foundation. The group, a corporation comprised of 5 First Nations and the provincial governments of Manitoba and Ontario, are raising funds to take care of a place that is a wonder of the world, says spokesman Sophia. The endowment fund is being taken care of by the Winnipeg Foundation, and with the funds from the Manitoba government, they are halfway to their proposed goal of $10 million. Helps that the first grant was $10 million. Our goal is sustained and meaningful impact, said Rick Frost, CEO of the Winnipeg Foundation. The Winnipeg Foundation will be matching donations 9-1. The land is important to the world. To donate or for more information, they post a website. I would sure like to see the books for the Panamachiwan Aki group, and I hope the Winnipeg Foundation has done their due diligence. The whole issue is a thinly veiled scam. The eastern boreal forest is thousands of square miles of nondescript and actually quite common bushland. If in fact it has become a UNESCO heritage site, it will be of no more significance than hundreds of other sites across Canada. The irony is that the group wants people to come and see and enjoy the natural beauty of the land, but without a road, how is anybody supposed to get there? Tourists tend not to like expensive local air flights or winter roads in January. The whole scheme is ridiculous, made even more so by claims of being pristine. It's far from pristine. I have first-hand reports that it may be pristine if you don't count the 16 communities that are there, including one of 10,000 people. It may be pristine if you don't count the sewage going into the lakes, if you don't count the burnt-out cars and snowmobiles, if you don't count the thousands of liquor bottles that have been cast aside along the riverbanks by paddlers, hikers, sports fishers, and hunters, if you don't count the fact these communities can't afford basic infrastructure, let alone proper landfills or recycling, if you think recycling is expensive in southern Manitoba, try paying to truck your drink cans or old newspapers to a recycling plant over winter roads. Gary Doer got a 10-year free ride in the media because he was charming. He played the media like a cheap fiddle, and he would sit down and have a beer with the boys and girls of the media. In case that didn't keep the news hounds at bay, he would pour huge dollars into Manitoba's news leader, the Winnipeg Free Press. For example, the Spirited Energy campaign, governed by a board that included the Free Press owner. If that didn't work, he could always lean on a pack of attack hounds that would regularly be turned loose on anyone who dared to oppose him. I've experienced those attacks personally. Then, if all else failed, Dewar would scream that the Conservatives fired 1,500 nurses in the 1990s, which is a total lie. Dewar was good at one thing, and that was simple math. He learned early on in his career in the union halls and church basement union meetings that you don't have to get everyone out to vote for you. All you need is 30%. Half the people don't show up to vote, so a solid and committed 30% support translates into 60% of the votes actually cast and makes you a winner. It's galling to think that Manitoba has been controlled by a leader and a party that has the confirmed and dedicated support of a very well-organized 30% minority. That's how Gary Dewar was able to give away taxpayers' money to fund a pristine forest myth, a scam, $10 million to be exact, even as he walked out the door on his way to being Canada's ambassador to the U.S. I believe the history will verify this story, and further that Gary Dewar will end up with a plum position at UNESCO or in the United Nations in an environment post. He's only been on the ambassador job for 18 months in Washington and has received an award for meritorious service. Oh yes, the pristine boreal forest has some creeks with stepping stones in them, and Gary Dewar has always been able to find the stepping stones. It's just too bad for Manitobans, and especially for First Nations Manitobans, that his steps have been so self-centered. Thank you.